Okay, hello and hello. I hope I am audible. No, so thank you so much for watching this video. So today we will be discussing about the basic immunological procedures. Okay, so serological tests are performed in the laboratory for diagnostic purposes when there is an infection is being suspected. So the purpose of this test is to diagnose the patients with certain immune deficiencies that are associated with lack of antibodies. Okay, because serology is a branch of laboratory medicine that studies blood serum, okay, for evidence of infection and other parameters by evaluating the antigen antibody reactions in vitro. Okay, yung mga nasa labas na um, test. Okay, so antigen antibody reactions. All right. Now in serology, the most frequently encountered specimen, okay, is your serum. Okay, so remember serum, diba? This is the fluid when it's separated with the packed red blood cells, okay, without the anticoagulant. And if it has an anticoagulant, it's called plasma. All right, so in the serology, immunology and serology, the most specimen frequently encountered is the serum. Okay, and so take note that the sample, the whole blood should be collected in a red top sterile tube. Okay, it should be in a red top sterile tube, and take note that the gel separator should be avoided. Okay, so what is the reason why the gel separator should be avoided? Because one reason is that the gel can absorb, okay, the gel can absorb or bind our antibodies and even the antigens. And remember, in serology, we need to detect the antigen antibody reactions, okay? So if this is being absorbed by the gel, then there would be a false negative results, all right, or falsely low antibody levels. Okay, so the gel separator is made up of hydrophobic polymer material, okay, in which many immunology analytes such as the IgG, IgM, IgA, the complements, the autoimmune antibodies, and even viral antigens can stick to the gel, leading to a false negative or false low antibody levels, or it can give us a weak or negative reactions. Okay, also it gives us a poor reproducibility in assays. Okay, another reason, no, for your gel separator should be avoided is that um, I'm sorry, the complement, okay, the complement proteins degrade faster in the gel tubes. All right, complements degrade faster in the gel tube. All right, so that's why this should be avoided. Okay, all right. And antibody. All right. Okay, another reason why gel separator should be avoided in your specimen collections that some analytes they fuse across the gel over time, and that the gel affects long-term storage and repeat testing. Now remember, in immunology, the samples are often needed to be frozen, refrozen, and even retested for panels. Okay, so that's why gel can interfere these methods, okay, in our testing. So that's why the ideal specimen collection is it should be placed in a red top sterile tube. And after extraction of the blood, no, it should be clotted, no, at room temperature, okay, or at 4 degrees Celsius. Then after that, it should be centrifuged. No, hindi yung immediately right after from the specimen collection, isi-centrifuge mo na kaagad. Okay, you have to wait for it to be clotted first. Okay, and centrifuge it. Okay, so para may proper enhancement no ng ating or extraction ng ating antigen and ating antibodies. So if the specimen is not used immediately up to 72 hours, the serum must be refrigerated no at these temperatures 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. However, if beyond 72 hours or beyond 3 days na siya mapaprocess, the serum must be frozen no at this temperature negative 20 degrees Celsius. So para di malimutan, below 72 hours or below 3 days, okay? Okay? 2 to 8 degrees Celsius dapat naka-refrigerate siya. Kung ano yung mga maliliit na numbers, no, below 3 days. And if it's greater than 3 days or 72 hours, no, therefore, kailangan siyang i-freeze. Okay? So, ano yung may malaking number, dapat yun siya yung i-remember natin. Okay, para-paraan para di malimutan. Pero, may negative lang kasi frozen siya. Alright. Now, there are things that we need to remember no, in the specimen collection. The contaminants should be avoided in our specimen, especially if it's alkaline or acidic na contamination. Why? Because it denatures our serum proteins. Okay. Now, in order for a visible endpoint to occur in a serological reaction, there must be care, okay, to our blood, okay, to avoid hemolysis. So, sa pag-collect pa lang ng specimen, dapat i-avoid natin yung hemolyzed na specimen, alright, since this may produce a false positive test, no, to our antigen and antibody. Okay? So, also, ecteric specimens, okay, kailangan i-avoid natin. Even the turbid serum, alright? As again, it may interfere with other tests, okay? Now, the specimen should be inactivated yung ating complement, okay? Why? Because complements can promote red cell lysis, okay? And then again, if there is lysis, it will interfere our results. It will give us false positive results. So how to inactivate your complement? No, the serum must be heated at 56 degrees Celsius. It should not reach 60 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. Okay? Now, if you need to reinactivate your serum when 4 hours has already lapsed, okay? So you have to heat your serum at 56 degrees Celsius within a short period of time for about just 10 minutes. Alright. Now, we should take note that we have to follow the quality control in processing, no? Whether in immunosero ba yan siya na section, in any other sections in the laboratory, we should follow the quality control. Alright, so reagents, we will be dealing a lot of reagents in immunosero. Reagents should be checked against 2 levels, no? It can be a high level or low level of commercial control solutions. And how often? Minimum of once a day, or whenever a new reagent is open, or if there's a different lot number, or a new reagent is opened. Okay, take note of that. Alright. Now, procedure manual. Okay, the procedure manual should be provided in the laboratory for basis for the testing with the principle. Okay, principle or the purpose of the test. No, also indicated doon yung clinical significance, mga reagents. Okay, yung data or yung details ng reagents. Specimen criteria, okay, if accepted ba or pwede pa din ba siyang, or ano yung mga accepted na criteria ng specimen, alright, and quality control details. And this procedure manual should be readily available in the working area. Hindi siya nakalagay sa cabinet, okay, and then natatabunan lang ng mga dust, okay. So it should be available in the working area wherein easily reach, easily lang ma-read ng staff. Alright. Now, reagent labeling should have a date of preparation, especially to those reagents na kailangan mo po siyang i-dissolve, alright, or i-dilute. So, kailangan you have to write the date of preparation or date of opening. date opened of the reagent. Kailangan ito. Alright, so para malaman natin na maybe no the reason why the test is out of control, no, so that we can investigate if the one of the reason is from the reagent or out of from the controls mismo. Okay, so kailangan natin itong ililabel. Then the date purchased and received date, ito din importante. Okay, so that we know sino yung uunahin natin gamitin. First in, first out. Alright? And also, take note of the expiration date. Never use reagents that are expired. Right? Appropriate safety information also, especially if it's toxic ba, if it's carcinogenic, or kaya skin sensitive. Alright? Na type of reagent. Alright, so now, in serology, we use pipette more often. Sorry for the wrong spelling, no? Pipettes more often in the serology. And we use these 3 types of pipettes, the volumetric, graduated, and the micro pipette. So when we say volumetric, it is the highest accuracy. So siya yung pinaka-accurate among them all. Okay? Highly accurate na pipette. Okay? So, it has a bulb. No? Remember niyo yung kanyang appearance. Diba? Siya yung may bulb and may calibration. Okay? At 1 calibration mark lang siya. So, yung volume ng ating volumetric flask usually is nasa 1 ml to 100 ml. Pero fixed yan siya. So, for example, in a 1 volumetric flask, this is calibrated for only with 100 ml na volume. Pang 100 ml na siya, hindi siya yung range. Okay? So, accuracy, again, of your volumetric pipette is high, very high, and this is the best among pipettes. Okay? The best pipette because of its high accuracy. Okay? Hindi ka ma-traidor ng pipette na ito. Okay? Alright. Okay. Now, graduated pipette, no, are used to transfer variable volumes, okay, with good accuracy. Okay? So, however, it is less accurate compared with your volumetric pipette. This is less accurate, though good ang kanya accuracy, but it's lesser accurate na than your volumetric pipette. So, remember the appearance of your graduated pipette. No, it has a narrow tip, okay, wherein there's also calibrations from top to the bottom, or from the top to the tip. Okay, all right, okay. So, anong tawag na to, the measurement, no, it can be a 10 microliter or diba, or 10 ml of your serological pipette. So your serological pipette can be more type of pipette, wherein yung more natin, diba, it stops before the tip. Okay, so that's why you'll have to let it drain, no, hanggang sa doon sa tip. Okay, I mean before the tip, alright? Okay. Kasi yung calibration niya is until doon lang, hindi siya umaabot doon talaga sa tip ng pipette, okay? Now, we also have serological pipette, no? This serological pipette, yung kanyang calibration is up to the tip. So, this is a blowout type na pipette. Okay? Calibration, graduation, no, up to the tip mismo. Okay? So, itong serological pipette are used generally sa laboratory. So, general use itong graduated pipette natin. Now, last but not the least, the type of pipette, the micropipette, which is very small volumes, no, from the names of micro, wherein we transfer very small volume, no, of our, it be sample or reagent. Small volumes of liquids, okay? Small volumes of liquids ang gamit ng ating micropipette na transfer. Okay? So, this is a mechanical device with a plunger, di ba? So, ito yung kanyang mukha. Okay? So, ayan, ito yung kanyang micropipette natin, tapos may tips siya na ginagamit, disposable tips. So, yung volume niya would range 1 microliter, so as small as 1 microliter up to 1,000 microliter or equivalent to 1 ml. Okay? Alright. So, your micropipette is accurate, no, highly accurate siya if and only if used siya properly. Okay, remember, no, there are two stops ng ating pipette. So, first stop is when you aspirate the specimen or the volume, or I mean the liquid. Then, on the second stop, no, full stop mo siya. It means i-dispense mo na yung liquids. No? So, your micropipettes are used, saan siya ginagamit? Mostly sa ating mga molecular biology such as PCR, di ba, DNA, testing, RNA testing, sa mga ELISA, diba, small volume chemical or mga clinical test, this is used, no, ating micropipettes. So remember, no, mnemonics natin para hindi makalimutan, para di makalimutan, okay? Our volumetric pipettes, diba, volumetric V stands for very accurate. Diba? Alright, then G, graduated pipette, G stands for general use. Okay, huwag kakalimutan. And then M for micropipette stands for micro. Okay, mga minute, mga maliliit, minimum volume or micro volumes. Okay, alright. So I hope na-gets nyo yun. Alright, so, sorry na double ko yung pagkalagay sa procedure manual. Alright. So now, sometimes in a serological test, no, there are too much antibody may be present in a sample, and yung endpoint may not be reached. No, in this case, the serum that contains the antibody must be diluted. So to make a less concentrated solution from a specimen ba or a reagent, we need to do dilutions. Okay, so this is the bread and butter of immunology. Alright, and 80% of the computation type ng mga exam questions is coming from the dilutions. So if you master this, you will survive immunology and serology. Alright, so when we say dilution, it is an indication of the relative concentration, and this can be expressed as a fraction. Okay, so for example, 1/2 or a ratio, no, na expression of our dilution. Ayan, 1:20 or 1:2. Okay, so there are 3 methods of dilution. Okay, so it can be simple or single dilution, compound, and the serial dilution. So let's start with the basics. Okay, the basic, ito yung simple or single dilution. Alright, so think of making an instant coffee. No, the more water, the more it is diluted. The more coffee, the more the stronger the concentration. So a single dilution or simple dilution, when you say single or simple dilution, it's the relationship between the solute and solvent, no, which is expressed in fraction or ratio. So remember the basic formula, not to get our dilution ratio is dilution ratio equivalent to the volume of the sample divided by the total volume. Okay, wherein the total volume is the sum of our sample or the solute and the diluent or the solvent. Okay, so the keywords to remember in the dilution, by the way, is when we say solute, no, this is our sample, in which our sample is the serum. Remember, no, this is the sample being diluted. Okay, the material being diluted. When we say solvent, it is the diluent, no, wherein ito yung medium na making the rest of the solution, or ito yung pangpadagdag ng ating solution. And when we say dilution ratio, this is the ratio of the volume and the total volume solution. Okay, sample is to the total volume. Alright, and dilution factor, it is the reciprocal lang ng ating ratio. Okay, so reciprocal lang siya, kabaliktaran. Just flip it. Alright, okay. Now in this example, alright, there's a For example, 100 volume, ang volume ng ating sample is 100 and the total volume is 200. Okay? So, there's a 1:2, no, one part of the sample and one part diluent, making it 2 parts total volume. So ratio means only one part out of 20 is your sample. Okay. All right. Okay, so an example here, no, is a problem solving. No, so you were asked to find out how much sample volume and diluent volume are in 2 ml solution with 1:20 dilution. Okay, so we have to first acknowledge the given, okay, in the problem. Okay, so the given amounts in the problem is, we already have the total volume, which is 2 ml solution, and the dilution is 1:20. So what we're going to do, now we have to find the volume of the sample and the volume of the diluent. So first, we have to find the volume of the sample. So remember the formula of our dilution ratio. Dilution ratio is equivalent to the volume of the sample divided by the total volume of the solution. Now, the dilution ratio is given already in the problem, which is 1:20. All right? And so we have to find first the volume of the sample since we already have the total volume. All right, so we immediately place it under divide. Okay, so now we cross multiply this, giving us 2 ml equals to 20x. All right, and so to be able to get or to find the x, no, hahanapin natin palagi si x. Okay, wag hanapin si x in real life, sa ano lang, sa math solutions lang, math problems lang. Okay, so x now is equals to 2/20. We divide the 2 ml by 20 for us to get the x, the value of the sample. So therefore, now we get 0.1 ml. So the volume is 0.1 of the volume of the solute. All right. Now, we already have the volume of the solute. We have to find the volume of the diluent. So, ima-minus lang natin yung total volume na 2 ml minus the 0.1, which will give us 1.9 ml. Okay, so that's it. That's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Okay, now the second method, now we move to the second method, which is the compound dilution. Okay, this is the, shall we say, in short, the multiply all you see of immunology. All right, so for example, there's a bigger dilution na ibigay, 1:500. So, alangan namang gagamit ka ng 500 na flask or test tube, no? So this makes us impossible, no, sa pag dilute ng ating sample or ating solution. Okay, so this is too much na volume. So that's why we have to calculate, no, a compound dilution problem. So for us to get a multiplying dilution factors, we need to plan first the number and sizes. So for example, with this 500, we can start at the lowest, no, 1:5. Then we think of a number na pwede ma-multiply siya hanggang sa abot tayo ng 500. So 5 times 10 is equals to 50. Very good. 50 times 10 is equals to 500. So pwede ka rin mag-start na, for example, Ma'am, I wanted to start with 1:10 dilution. Go ahead. Alright? Pwede ka din. So what? 1:10 and 1:10. So 10 times 10, 100. And for you to get 500, of course, you proceed with 5. So it depends on you kung ano yung gusto mong unahin. Alright? Pero para systematic din ang iyong you start with the smallest number. Okay? Para dahan-dahan mo siyang mag-a-add ka lang or magdadagdag ka lang ng number para ma-multiply mo siya. Okay, hanggang sa you will reach the desired dilution, no, yung original dilution na 500, na mas malaki. Okay, so for example, okay, another example aside sa 500. So let's say desire natin na volume desire natin na dilution is 1:1000. So paano mo ba siya gagawin? Okay, ang compound dilution na yan, 1:1000. So ang una mong pwede tayo magsisimula sa 1:10. Okay, then followed by 1:10. So 10 times 10 is 100, and followed by another dilution na 1:10. Okay, so this, sorry. Nasobrahan na. Okay, so, tama, 1:10. Tama, sorry. 1:10, 10 times 10 is 100 times 10, so we get 1,000. So, ganun po yun, alright? Ganun po ang ating compound dilution, alright? So, balik tayo dito sa 1:500 na dilution. Okay? So, after that, once you already planned the number of the dilutions from the original dilution, you then proceed to finding the anong tawag nito, the volumes of our solute and our solvent. Okay, so remember the formula: total volume, I mean the dilution ratio. Okay, dilution ratio is equals to the volume of the solvent divided by the total volume. Okay, all right. So to remember, our compound dilution, compound is equivalent to combine. Okay, all right. Just multiply all the dilution steps. All right, so for example, an initial dilution of 1:20 was used in a specimen for a particular assay. The result was 10 microgram per ml. This sample was then further diluted by a 1:40 dilution. What will be the final dilution and concentration of the sample? So we already have the initial dilution, which is 1:20, and we further diluted it to 1:40. So we are asked to find the final dilution and the concentration of the sample. So given with the formula, okay, final dilution, okay, so for us to get the final dilution, diba, remember sa compound, we just have to multiply the dilution factors. Okay, so we already have the dilution factor 1:20 as the initial dilution, and further dilution of 1:40, the second dilution. Okay, so we multiply them. Okay, so let X be the final dilution. So 20 times 40 is 800. So this is now our final dilution. All right, now to get the final concentration, okay, so we have to divide we have to divide the result concentration, which is 10 microgram per ml, divided by our total dilution factor, which is 800. Okay, 800. All right, so 10 times 800, we get the final concentration of the sample of 800 microgram per deciliter. So therefore, further dilution increases the total dilution factor. Okay, again, further dilution increases the total dilution factor. Okay, concentration multiplies accordingly. All right. Okay, now the fun part. The serial dilutions. So your serial dilutions are used for titers. Okay, this is for our titer, to obtain the titer. So it is a progressive series of dilutions in which each tube becomes, or each dilution is becomes half, in twofold. Okay, twofold. Okay, so common sa immunology is a twofold dilution, doubling, twofold dilution. Okay, so because antibodies decrease by half every step. All right, so usually a complete dilution series usually contains 5 to 10 tubes, although single dilution lang may be made directly for an undiluted specimen or substance. Okay, so now let's have an example. In this table, there are 10 tubes that are being set up. So each tube has 1 ml of diluent. Okay, so constant yung volume ng ating diluent. So 1 ml of serum is added to each tube, to the first tube, making this the final dilution na 1:2. Then as added to the second tube na naman na 1 ml, it makes the final dilution 1:4. Then another 1 ml na sample, no, added to the third tube, making it 1:8 na final dilution. Up to the 10th is 1:1024. Alright? So, remember that the tube dilution, okay, as you can see, there's a tube dilution and final dilution here. Tube dilution stands for the dilution of the particular tube using the volume of the solute or the sample and the volume of the total volume. Alright? So, technically, tube dilution is the sample divided by the total volume. Okay, so this is our tube dilution. Now, for our final dilution, this is the actual dilution of the specimen that is relative to the original sample. So, technically, final dilution is the previous, okay, final dilution multiplied to the tube dilution. Okay, so for example, no, in this table, the dilution sample is 1:1, which is the previous, okay, multiplied it to the tube dilution, which gives us the final dilution 1:2. Alright, then we have the dilution sample in the test tube 2, 1:2 multiplied by 1:2 tube dilution, no, na, it gives us 1:4 na final dilution. So, to remember, no, para di malimutan, alright, the tube is the tiny dilution and the final dilution is the full story. Okay, siya yung full story natin, yung ating final dilution. Okay, alright. Okay, now, the titer, as we mentioned kanina, diba? In order to obtain a titer, we need to do a serial dilution. So, when we say titer, this is a semi-quantitative technique used to assay the concentration of an antibody. So, this is the reciprocal of the highest dilution of the patient's serum in which the antibody is still detectable. Okay, technically, titer is the strength of the antibody. Okay, it is the strength of the antibody. Alright? Okay, kapag highest dilution ng serum that gives a positive reaction with the antigen, that is your titer. So, for example, in a serum dilution, no, there is, let's say, for example, 1:8, 1:16, 1:32, 1:64. Okay, and so on and so forth. So 1:128. All right. Now the antigen suspension is appears to be positive until to the 1:64. So positive ito sila lahat, antigen suspension. In 1:128 it's negative. Okay, so therefore the titer in this problem or in this example is ang titer natin is 64. Right? So, for example, okay? For example, ang antigen natin na suspension, positive. For example, wala na itong 1:120. Ay, sige. Wala na, na-erase ko na. Okay. So, for example, no, ang positive reaction natin is hanggang dito siya sa 1:16. Nag-negative siya sa 32 and 64. Therefore, the titer is 16. Okay. Ayan. Very good. Alright. So, for us to prepare the titer, we need to perform serial dilution of the antibody. Alright? Then, additional of equal volume of the antigen. So, take note, equal dapat ang volume to each diluted specimen. Right? For us to reach that endpoint, okay, of the antigen-antibody interaction. So, how to interpret? The higher titer indicates a considerable antibody in the serum. So, most pathogenic infections, no, there's an increase in patient's titer of 2 doubling dilutions or from a positive result of 1:8. So, for example, positive result na 1:8, 2 doubling dilutions. So, umabot siya ng 1:8 times 2, 1:16, then 16 times 2, 1:32. So, there is doubling. 2 doubling dilutions, no? Or kaya ito yung 4-fold rise ng antibody. Okay? Alright, so this means if there's a fourfold rise in the antibody, it means there's a current infection. Okay, alright, I hope you understand that. Okay, now, let's proceed to seroconversion versus seroreversion. In the development of a detectable antibody, okay, kapag detectable yung antibodies, then it means seroconversion. If it can no longer be detected, it means it's a seroreversion. Okay? So, para ma-remember, conversion meaning coming. Okay, meaning coming pa. Kapag reversion naman, retreating. Ayan, para ma-remember nyo. Okay? Kapag coming, conversion, seroreversion naman is retreating. Okay. So, question, no? Let's have an example for this. Okay, so a patient was negative in dengue. Okay, IgM, for example. Lalo na nauuso na naman yun ang dengue. Alright, so negative daw siya sa dengue IgM and on IgG. Okay, negative din siya sa dengue IgG. Last week, alright? But now, it shows, after a week, it shows positive na siya sa dengue IgM. Okay, so what could be the possible reason? Okay, last week daw, negative siya to these antibodies. Pero negative pa rin siya sa IgG. But after a week, no, nag-positive na siya sa dengue IgM and negative siya sa IgG. Therefore, there's a, is it because of the seroconversion or seroreversion? It's seroconversion kasi coming. Okay, coming. Right? So, if seroreversion naman, positive siya for this week ng dengue, then after that, okay, after a week, nag-negative na siya sa dengue IgM. For example, IgM yung dinetect natin. Alright. Okay, so after a week, no, there's a seroreversion. Nag-retreat na yung antibodies. Okay. Alright. Now, let's talk relationships. Charis. The antibody-antigen relationships. Alright, so this is the antigen-antibody binding. So, when you say about their strength of the relationship, okay, we talk about the affinity or the avidity. So, affinity, it's the initial force or the first date energy of the antigen epitope. Okay, for example, this is the epitope of the antigen and the attraction of the Fab site of the antibody. Alright, yan yung ating affinity. First, affinity first. First, affinity. Alright, initial strength of attraction. Okay, so when you are attracted to a girl, diba? That's called affinity. Okay? But in the antigen antibody, no, strength of attraction between one epitope and one Fab site of the antibody. Now, when we say avidity, it's the overall strength. Okay? Overall strength. Considering all binding sites of the antibody. Okay? So, affinity is first or the initial, okay, first or the initial force of the attraction of your antigen and antibody. Okay, so now, this will always appear in our board exam, the sensitivity and specificity. So when we say sensitivity, now this is the ability to detect, to detect a very small amount of substance. Okay, so in clinical sensitivity, it's the ability of the test to give always a positive if the disease is present. Okay, so it detects true positive. Okay, ang sensitivity. Again, true positive is your sensitivity. So low sensitivity will give, okay, kapag low ang sensitivity, bakit LS ang sinulat ko? If low ang ating sensitivity, it will give us false negatives. Alright? If low ang sensitivity, it will give us false negative. Now, specificity, it detects the substance without interference from cross-reacting substances. All right. So it's the ability, no, of the test to give negative result if the disease is not present. So this also detects true negative ang ating specificity. Okay? Alright. So para di malimutan, okay? Para di malimutan, alright? Para di malimutan, high sensitivity, okay? Niro-rule out niya ang negative. Negative is being ruled out. Alright? Kapag specificity, positive naman is ruled out. Okay, positive is ruled out. Okay, ayan. Alright. Now, if your sensitivity, clinical sensitivity, no, if baba ang sensitivity, therefore, there's an increase of the false negative. Now, if low naman din ang specificity, okay, ano lang natin. If low naman din ang specificity, therefore, false positive is increased. Okay. Alright. Okay. Now, speaking of cross-reaction, no, di ba nakanta natin kanina yung cross-reaction with the specificity. Okay, so cross-reaction, this means that the reaction of the antibody with an antigen that is other than the one that induced its formation, reaction may be weaker than that with the inducing antigen. Okay, so the antibody reacts with other similar antigen, which makes it weaker na reaction. Okay, so the more the cross-reacting antigen resembles the original antigen, the stronger the bond will be between the antigen and the binding site. Alright, now all antigen-antibody binding is reversible and is governed by the law of mass action. Okay, so the law of mass action states that the free reactants are in equilibrium. Equal lang siya with the bound reactants. Okay, now this equilibrium is constant. Now represents the difference in the rates of the forward and the reverse reaction. So for example, no, ang equation ating law of mass action, So antigen antibody first, no, na kanilang interaction, no, which stands for the rate of the constant for the forward reaction. Okay, the antigen and antibody. All right, na interaction. Now, to reverse, no, yung reaction ng ating antigen-antibody, no, this is now the K2 or the rate constant of the reverse reaction of our antigen-antibody forming, separated na yung antigen and the antibody. Okay. Alright. Now, the equilibrium constant is the rate constant of the forward reaction divided by the rate constant of the reverse reaction. Alright, wherein the antigen-antibody concentration of the antigen-antibody complex is expressed in mol over liters, or mol per liter. Alright, okay. So, take note, high equilibrium constant, okay, is stronger and more visible ang reaction. The higher the equilibrium constant, if mataas ang equilibrium constant, the stronger, okay, ang kanyang relationship. The more visible din ang reaction. Alright? So, K, take note, K, diba, is for clumping. Kasi it shows a visible reaction. Okay? Visible yung reaction, clumping. K, constant, K, for visible reaction. Alright. Okay. Now, there are factors that affects the antigen-antibody reactions or their interactions. Okay, so let's start with the antigen-antibody ratio. So, remember, diba, my pro-zone, post-zone, and my zone of equivalence. When we say about the zone of equivalence, this is the optimum precipitation occurs. No, so, dito tayo may makikita na lattice formation because the number of multivalent sites of the antigen and antibody are approximately equal. So, may formation ng lattice. Okay? So, the increasing amounts of soluble antigen are added to fixed amounts of specific antibody, then the amount of precipitation increases up to the zone of equivalence. Alright? So, when the amount of antigen overwhelms the number of antibody combining sites present, precipitation begins to decline. Alright? Now, pro-zone phenomenon, this is where the antibody is in excess. And post-zone phenomenon is where the antigen is in excess. So here is the illustration. So para hindi malimutan. Remember, both pro-zone and post-zone can cause false negative. Okay? False negative serologic reactions. Again, both post-zone and pro-zone can cause false negative reactions and erroneous yung mga titer results. Okay? Now, in the zone of equivalence, as you can see, multivalence no, ng ating antigen and ating antibody forming a lattice formation, network of lattice formation. So, this is where the precipitation is seen. No? Optimal precipitation occurs. So, I would like to give you an example question. Okay? So, the patient's serum is possible. The patient's serum is positive only after dilution. What is the phenomenon? Again, the patient serum is positive only after dilution. What do you think is the phenomenon? Is it pro-zone phenomenon, zone of equivalence, or the post-zone phenomenon? The correct answer is pro-zone. Yes. Why? Because there's too many antibodies that initially block the lattice formation. Okay? So, sa kadami ng antibodies present na walang nabubuong lattice formation, so walang precipitation. So, only when the sample was being diluted, okay, there happened the zone of equivalence. Meron ng positive result. May nakita ng precipitation. Alright. So, nasa pro-zone siya na phenomenon. Okay. So, here are other factors that affects the antigen-antibody reactions. Okay. So, number of antigens. Take note, aside sa yung phenomenon natin na antigen-antibody presence. Okay. The number of antigens, wherein the amount of antigen is present, that is present now in the sample, affects how well antibodies can bind and even find them. Alright? So, if antigen is too little, there's no enough targets for antibodies. Okay? If antigen is too much, post-zone phenomenon naman ang mag-occur. It means there's excess in antigen. Okay? Now, location of the antigens. Okay? So, when we say location, it's where the antigen is located on the particle that influences the accessibility of the antibodies to bind. Alright? So, antigens, for example, if the antigen is buried deep inside, okay, cannot be accessed by the antibodies. For example, nagtago siya doon sa tissue, deeper ng tissue, so hindi siya ma-access ng ating antibody. Okay? So, therefore, walang formation, no? Or walang antigen-antibody reaction. Okay? And if the antigen is found surface, okay, mga surface antigens, they are easier to bind in making it stronger reaction. Okay? Now, centrifugation can affect also the antigen-antibody reactions, meaning using the centrifugation speed, no? The centrifugation speeds up the antigen-antibody contact. Alright? So, as the spinning pulls the cells or the particles closer, making them collide more frequently. So, therefore, it allows faster agglutination. Okay? Through centrifugation, it allows faster agglutination. But, however, there's a warning for this in centrifugation. If too much naman din ang ating centrifugation, non-specific clamping will occur. Okay? Take note, if too much ang ating centrifugation, it will cause false positive. Alright. Okay. Now, um, there are potentiators, okay? So potentiators, meaning these are the substances that enhance, okay? This enhances your antigen antibody reactions by reducing, okay, repulsion or promoting lattice formation. Okay, so potentiators are enhancers. Alright? So common potentiators, ano yung pinaka-common natin na potentiators? It's your albumin. Okay? Or pwede din PEG, di ba? Yung polyethylene glycol. Yung enzymes natin, such as papain. Remember yung papain? Okay? And what else? The LISS or the low ionic, sorry na double S yung ating enzymes. Okay, the LISS or the low ionic strength solution. Okay? So ito yung mga examples ng ating potentiators. Alright, so these potentiators bring antigen antibody closer together, or sila yung mga kumbaga link yung nagrereto sa inyo. Alright? So, sila yung bring closer together or alter charge, so they attract more strongly. Okay? For example, especially itong LISS, no? This is used saan nga ito na testing sa blood banking, no, to enhance our IgG detection. Okay. Alright. Now, RULU versus true agglutination. So, ano bang ibig sabihin nito? Di ba yung RULU? No, do not interpret RULU as agglutination. Okay? Kasi yung RULU, it's just the formation of your red cells na nakastack lang sila. Okay? So, nawala yung kanilang negatively charged. Alright? So, that's why nagru-RULU sila. These are stack of coins, no, caused by, of course, increased proteins, especially fibrinogen or globulin. These are not antigen antibody binding, ha? They can be easily dispersed using anong gagamitin? Saline. Okay, this can be dispersed via saline. Okay. So, why does it matter, no? Kailangan natin differentiate yung RULU formation from the true agglutination. Because RULU can give false positive. Okay, ang ating RULU. RULU formation gives false positive reactions ng agglutination sa test, lalo na sa ABO typing. No? So that's why, no, kailangan siyang i-double check sa microscope. Okay, yung ating RULU formation. Okay, again, RULU are roll-like coins, not clumping. Okay, they are roll-like coins, but it doesn't mean clumping. Alright, now antibody, another factor is the antibody isotype. Okay, antibody isotype. So, these are different antibodies that behave differently. Okay, so isotype behavior, no, ng ating IgM. For example, our IgM is big, diba? There are pentameric, diba, ang kanyang size. So, it requires enhanced, the IgM is big, pentameric ang kanyang size. It is best, no, for agglutination ng ating IgM. Okay, it has 10 binding sites, which is superb for visible clumping. Alright? Now, our IgG is small, di ba? Monomeric lang ating IgG, and therefore, it requires enhancement to agglutinate because there are only 2 binding sites yung ating IgG. Alright? So, the smaller the size, no, the weaker yung reaction niya. Unless there are potentiators such as yung albumin, mga LISS, di ba, ang ma-add or magagamit sa ating antibody na itong IgG. Now, your IgD, IgE, IgA. Okay? Ito naman ng mga antibodies na ito are less relevant, no, in our lab agglutination. So, ang ginagamit lang talaga for agglutination are your IgGs and IgM. Alright. So, to remember, i-erase ko na lang itong IgD, IgE, and A natin na since they are not used in the lab agglutination. Okay? So, to remember, no, ang M stands for massive. IgM, M stands for massive. So, the best siya for agglutination since kasi nga pentameric siya. And G is for gentle. Just a gentle lang na clumper. It requires potentiators. Okay. Now, another antigen-antibody reaction factors. Okay, C, temperature. Okay, so when we say it's a temperature, of course, we should take note no na ang optimal lang na temperature is 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. If more than that, mag-abot siya ng 60 degrees Celsius and above, it can denature our protein. So this affects much the speed, no, ang temperature and stability of our antigen-antibody binding. So the higher the temperature, the faster molecular movement, therefore increase ang kanyang binding. If too high naman ang temperature, the proteins lose its structure. So that's why there's denaturation. Therefore, if denatured, walang binding. And if too low naman ang temperature, the reactions are slow. Okay? So let's say this is the temperature. No? High and then low. Alright? Sa high, faster ang, sa high temperature, if high ang temperature, ulitin natin, if high ang temperature, faster or increased ang binding. Okay? If low naman ang temperature, it means it can slow the reaction. Okay. Ayan. Okay. Alright. Now, the length of incubation affects also the antigen-antibody reactions, wherein the time allowed for antigen-antibody is needed to react. If too short naman din ang ating if too short, asan na yun? If too short ang binding ng ating antigen-antibody, alright, it gives us a what? It gives us an incomplete binding. Okay? If too short, therefore there is incomplete binding. Okay? If too long naman, what will happen? There will be dissociation. Okay. And degradation of the antigen. Okay, so I hope mababasa nyo ang aking sulat kamay. Okay, degradation and dissociation of the antigen. Alright, so for example, in indirect antigen anti-agglutination test, no, it requires set of incubation at 37 degrees Celsius only for the optimal IgG binding. Okay, because if at 37 degrees Celsius lang for ilang minutes, for 5 minutes, let's say 15 minutes, no, or 5 minutes. So that's why we really have to follow the protocols, no, in processing your specimen. Okay, because or else we will get this, no, if too short lang ang ating incubation, incomplete ang binding. If too long, dissociation and degradation of our antigens. Now, the pH of our test system. So it is one of the greatest factors also. No, that take note, the pH is 6.5 to 7.0 lang yung optimum na pH ng ating reaction. So binding occurs best at slightly acidic to neutral pH. Now, with the extreme na pH, if extreme naman yung pH natin, what will happen? Okay. It alters what? The electrical charges. Alters electrical charges on proteins. Okay, which makes it weak ang ating binding. Weak or prevented or no binding. Kasi nga na-alter yung electrical charges ng ating protein. No? If too much ang ating pH. Now take note, no, sa ating mga proteins, it's your complement proteins. Okay? Your complement proteins are sensitive to pH. This is very sensitive to pH. Alright. Okay. And so that ends our discussion about the dilution and the antigen antibody reactions. To the next video, we will discuss about the precipitation versus the agglutination.